The past few videos, we have done a few comparisons within the Star Wars mythos. Today, we are going to continue with doing this style of video with a widely debated topic: who is the better Sith, Maul or Dooku? And if they ever were to fight, who would come out on top? Welcome friends to today's video, where we will be pitting these two dark side gladiators against each other and rank them based on 3 categories: skill with a blade, force ability, and intelligence. If you like this style of video, be sure to comment what or who you would like to see compared in the future. Before we get into our comparison, there is a big sale on the Star Wars merch page for the holidays, where you can get 15 to half off all merchandise for either yourself or a cool Christmas present. There's also free worldwide shipping. But with that addressed, let's get into it. Let's kick this off with Saber Skill. I believe it is often overlooked just how skilled of a duelist Dooku was. If you remember from our video detailing the reason behind Dooku's fall to Anakin, then you remember that in his early training years in the Jedi Temple, Dooku zealously studied the lightsaber. It was essentially his life. He perfected his form with countless hours of intense training, opting to exclusively study the second form of lightsaber combat known as Makashi. To recap, Makashi is the duelist form, created back in the day during the Great Schism, when the first Dark Jedi split from the original Jedi Order. Back in the ancient days of the Order, only Form 1 Shicho existed, and it was not ideal for saber-on-saber combat, being a very streamlined form. Makashi was made as a counter on this, relying on lateral movement and outclassing the opponent with superior blade work. Form 2 excels against a single opponent, but is weak against multiple, though a master of Makashi knows how to divide and conquer, isolating opponents and picking them off one by one, as we see Dooku do against Anakin and Obi-Wan during their many engagements over the span of the Clone Wars. Being able to move with his footwork and a perfect synchronization with his blade, Dooku created an unpredictable offense, as well as a near effortless defense. As Qui-Gon Jinn once said, he is a fencer. Leverage, positioning, advantage, these are things that are as natural to him as breathing. Count Dooku was surely the master of Makashi and widely regarded as the finest lightsaber duelist of his time, right up there with the likes of Grandmaster Yoda. Darth Maul, on the other hand, was a truly stupendous fighter in his own right, trained by Sidious to be one of the most efficient Sith assassins in the Order's history. It was Maul's job to fight and conquer. Maul was ruthless in his pursuit of power and dominance, especially over the Jedi. Maul was trained in Form 7 Juyo. Juyo was the most ferocious of all forms, taking aspects of Form 4 Ataru and Form 5 Djem So. Maul was also an expert in Jar-Kai dual-blade fencing, which was the technique of dual-wielding lightsabers. Using his saber staff, superior training, and acrobatic ability, Maul was able to take on both Master Qui-Gon Jinn and Jedi Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi at the same time, systematically dismantling them after separating them from one another. I would like to point out that while Maul was ultimately defeated by Obi-Wan on Naboo, this was because of his arrogance, as he had technically won the lightsaber duel by disarming the Padawan. And had Maul not been so arrogant and opted not to play with his food, he would have absolutely killed Kenobi in this moment. Maul was such a formidable opponent that in his fight with Sidious, the Dark Lord at one point seemed as though he was growing fatigued from facing him. After effortlessly dispatching Savage Opress, Sidious took Maul into his full focus, and it required him to fall back to his force ability in order to stop him. Moving on to force potential, Count Dooku was always very gifted within the force. His powers exceeded that of all other Jedi younglings around him during his training. Master Yoda chose to train him personally, as he saw the great potential within the young Dooku. As soon as he had embraced the dark side, he was able to manifest Force Lightning, although he still chose to engage his opponent primarily with the blade. Dooku was also incredibly gifted in the realm of intuition. When Ventress and 2 other Night Sisters went to assassinate him, not only were they invisible, but they were also able to poison him with a magic dart meant to dull his senses. This seemingly had very little to no effect on the Sith Lord. With his eyes closed, he used the Force to sense the witches and counter each and every one of their strikes. Keep in mind that there were 3 of them present, including his own former assassin Ventress. With all of these odds stacked against him, he was able to dispatch them using little more than his incredible awareness, even through the dulling senses of the poisonous dart. By the end of the encounter, he was able to lift all 3 Dathomirian witches and toss them out of the window. Maul was also gifted with the Force, but rather than focus on any external powers, Maul augmented his own physical ability as a warrior. He chose to harness his Force powers in different ways than Dooku. Harnessing them internally, using a technique called Force Valor, which greatly enhanced the user's physical capabilities to go beyond their natural limits. Although it is believed that Maul was capable of other powerful force abilities and was capable of conjuring Force Lightning, this was never his primary focus. In our final category, we have intelligence. Starting again with Count Dooku, he was an expert tactician, as the leader of the Separatist Party and a master duelist. His cunning and tactical mind was one of the reasons he was such a staggering foe. Through his use of the Sith technique Dun Mach, Tyrannus could completely dismantle his opponents by shattering their self-confidence and filling them full of doubts. In a way, Dooku often won every engagement before it ever began, as everyone knows. The mind is half of the battle. In fact, it would be Anakin Skywalker that would learn much of this technique that he would later implement as the Dark Lord Vader years after fighting Dooku. As in many ways, Dooku was just as much as a teacher to the young Vader as his own master Obi-Wan Kenobi was at the time. Maul was very intelligent in his own right, but in a very different way. Maul always saw the best avenue to break an opponent's defense, which is what we saw him do against Qui-Gon Jinn. The fight was getting far too drawn out, and he needed to kill the Jedi quickly, so he resorted to what he deemed himself to be a cheap trick, and hit Qui-Gon's chin with the hilt of his lightsaber in order to stun him. Although it was effective, Maul would later go on to say that he would have much rather defeated the Jedi Master blade to blade. At the end of Clone Wars in Season 7, we discovered Maul had actually been granted clarity to the grand plan that Sidious had been concocting, which is a statement to his intelligence in its own right. Maul formulated his own scheme to put an end to the plan by luring Obi-Wan and Anakin to Mandalore in hopes of killing Anakin in order to stop it. Unfortunately, this didn't go as all to plan. In fact, it resulted in a harsh backfire as he ended up captured himself by Ahsoka Tano. Now though, the results are in, and let us mark up our tallies on these two dark side warriors. In the lightsaber category, I don't believe it will come as a surprise for anyone to know that we chose Dooku. His skill is unmatched, as it was said that he had a good chance of besting even Sidious blade to blade, who had mastered all 7 forms of lightsaber combat. Dooku held his own against Grandmaster Yoda for a lengthy period of time, much longer than Sidious did, at least with a lightsaber. Maul can't compare to the likes of Yoda whatsoever in saber ability, much less Dooku. Despite his ferocity with the blade, Maul can still be outwitted, as we have seen Obi-Wan Kenobi outwit Maul time and time again, which segues perfectly into our next category, intelligence. This one is also taken by Dooku. It is the simple fact that Maul is very arrogant. His hubris was the very thing that cost him his lower half by a Padawan Kenobi. Dooku is calm and calculated in battle, whereas Maul is easily baited into blind fury. Not to mention also, very few of Maul's sinister plots actually turned a profit. He failed to kill Kenobi every time they engaged, as while he was good at getting someone into position, he overestimated his own ability to actually follow through. This is why that even if he had lured Kenobi and Anakin to Mandalore in Season 7, he still would have likely lost because he would have drastically underestimated his ability to deal with the Chosen One. Simply put, he doesn't think things completely through, while Dooku knew his own power and its limits. As we see in Attack of the Clones when he decides to escape his fight with Yoda by distracting him when realizing that he was not able to best the Jedi Master with the time that he had, or potentially was unable to defeat Yoda at all, putting his pride in his back pocket and choosing to escape. And finally, Force ability. This one is another tragic failure for Maul. Dooku has been shown to be able to contend with very powerful Force users, the upper echelon of Star Wars, where the instant Sidious has decided to use the Force, it was simply over for Maul. It is a highly debated topic, but where we believe that some people go wrong is the fact that Maul is an assassin and Dooku is a fully formed Sith Lord. Count Dooku outclasses Maul in every category due to his superior experience. Dooku has been a Jedi Master for decades. Dooku has been trained in both sides of the Force, while Maul only knows the ferocity of the dark side, and nothing about the peaceful mindfulness of the light. I would go as far to say that Dooku uses the light side when dueling and the dark side everywhere else, at least elements of the light side, with his patience and open-mindedness on full display. It was said by Grandmaster Luke Skywalker that Jedi are better lightsaber duelists because of their ability to have a calm and analytical mind in the midst of combat. But what do you think of this, my friends? Do you agree that Dooku is superior, or do you think that Maul has a better chance than we gave him? Comment below your thoughts, and as always, may the Force be with you and have a great day. Don't forget the sale on the Star Wars merch page, and I'll hopefully catch you guys in the next video.